Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis on February 11th. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me, as usual, is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. Before Brian and I jump into it today, do need to share our disclaimer, since these sessions are all sponsored by our compliance department. Trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. Any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So as I move this over, I'm just going to tee this up quickly. There's a lack of economic news. But we did have our jobless claims here in the U.S. We were expecting to see them drop. I think they were looking for the estimate to be down around 760,000 new claims. Unfortunately, it only fell to about 793,000. So it is falling. We are slowly getting people back to work, at least in regard to the initial jobless claims numbers. It's just not happening as quickly as people were anticipating or expecting or hoping. So with that, the equity markets are up across the board, so it's not having much of an impact in the U.S. equities. I think what we want to go over, today, Brian, I'm going to let you talk about,
Sure.
Oil has been moving around, and I think it's a great opportunity to discuss that.
Sure. Yeah, a couple things. I mean, just top line, again, you guys know that I love looking at this. The 24-hour pip changes here, and you can see that although yesterday we had crazy movement, today we really have much. 13, minus 12, 8, 3. I mean, these are very, very small pip changes. The unemployment, again, as Todd mentioned, it came in at 793,000. The forecast was for 755. So it's kind of one of the things. It's less. It's a lower number, but it's higher than the expectation. And understand that these are first-time claims, so there's still almost 800,000 people applying for unemployment. So it's not like it's disappearing. It's not like we're hiring more jobs back. There are still people getting laid off at a very, very high rate. So not quite there yet. And coupled with what we saw this morning, Powell's comments talking about, and again, I'll just tone here. Powell painted a gloomy picture of the U.S. employment due to the coronavirus pandemic. And again, we know we're not out of the woods yet. So, what will this do today? Again, it's kind of painting things in it's still light, right? When you're talking about, hey, listen, we're going to have major problems for a while, and we're going to be, he said monetary policy will remain to be patiently accommodative. These are not positive feelings. When you have this type of negativity, again, a lot of times this is for the market, because it's like, more people are getting laid off. We missed the number; it's higher. Maybe we're not where we thought we were going to be. Again, at this point, with the $1.9 trillion stimulus, they're going to come out and say, "Oh, you know what? It's still bad. Let's add another half trillion." It's they can't.
That's not going to happen. Right.
No, we haven't spent the last one from December. Now up with new ones. It's like, how much? Again, eventually this thing you have to do something, right? And we're not spending the money that we're approving these things for. So again, I would say overall, the economy today, market will probably be a bit more on the. I'm not going to say it's going to go straight down, but I'm going to say that any type of news headline that has any type of negative intonation for it would want the overall markets to go down. It's going to be more likely to go down today and more sensitive to any type of comment, tweet, anything like that to the downside. As far as overall, and again, this goes directly into oil, right? So we got a statement earlier today. An hour ago from OPEC. Now, remember, I take everything that OPEC says with a grain of salt, but OPEC is saying that demand is estimated. Yeah. Now they're saying, well, supply is going to be down, and the market went absolutely insane, right? It's like, oh my God, supply is down. And I'd mentioned last week, supply went down, but does that really make much of a difference? Because again, here we have lockdowns. Companies are now going full virtual. I know my wife yesterday got an email from a company that they're like, hey, we're looking for someone in your position. It's kind of an upgrade for her, but it's 100% virtual. So now others are coming in, and it's like, hey, this is a full virtual position. Just in case you're not happy going to the office. There are people that is a selling function now, but now they're saying demand is estimated to have dropped, which is definitely something new that we've seen from OPEC. Because again, if demand is lower, is it okay that supply is lower? Yeah, and we've seen some movement. Now, yesterday, here's the oil number. Now, I gave everybody we gave the example of CPI, right, and about how you trade news using Nadex, and we showed it was a great setup, right, with CPI. And I warned you guys, oil is another one of those ones that I absolutely love. There's great setup, looking for price to kind of rally into a zone. We had mentioned the one selling area, and I'll show that to you in a second. And it went down, it used that selling area, dropped right down to another 30-minute level, which again, I told you guys yesterday. And when this oil result came out, bam, up 70 cents. It was a huge move, right? Let me show you in the chart. Here is that zone that we'd been mentioning, right? We said, hey, small entrance here, price dropped down, right? This was the European sell, which the last 6-7 weeks, this is what's happened. We've seen movement in the European session. Here's a level, and again, this is the same blue drawing that we've had here for the last week now, right? This is a level that obviously buyers stepped in. What happened here? They couldn't go any lower. Price went up. They tagged that level, and again, maybe to this one, but definitely from the top, it was a level, again, daily level. It dropped down, and this is where this is 10 o'clock. I know the news release came out at 10:30, but what I told you guys was wait for it to push into a zone right before noon. Go into those short duration contracts, okay? So I don't know if you guys can see 2 blue arrows up here. There's one down here and kind of one up here.
We can see them.
Yeah, this is the movement. It went from 58.05 all the way up to 58.90, right? 58.89. So we're talking about almost a 90-cent move up in less than an hour. Okay, I don't know, guys, and again, I'm going to drag this in. Here's our contract specifications for crude oil. Okay, this is call spreads. Could you have looked at this little call spread here in 2 hours, done a 10 to 12? Absolutely, yes. Right? If you look at the call spreads, they are typically set about 25 cents apart, and this one moved 90 cents. So again, there was plenty of opportunity. If you used strikes, there would have been a 58 and a 58.25. So again, even if you got into the 58.25, it still moved almost 75 cents in 1 hour. Huge movement. And again, look at the binaries. Up to the top, those are knockouts. Here we go, crude oil. They're 20 cents apart. So again, do the math. If it moved 90 cents and strike width is 20 cents, do the math, guys. We're talking about 4 to 5 strike prices in 1 hour.
Yep.
Okay, that's a lot of movement. And again, everyone's always trying to figure out, how do I trade more? Like, news trading is sexy, but I have no idea how to do it. Go down to those smaller time frames. Go into these shorter duration binary or call spread contracts. And again, if it doesn't pop, you're going to have, make sure that it's low risk, but you don't need a lot of movement to be able to do these things. So it's one of those things. I mean, the reason we do these programs is we're trying to help you guys and kind of give you things to look at and tell you kind of how to play it. But I mean, even right now, you've seen it. It's bounced off of 50, the C8, like 05, 58, 10 level. 1, 2, another bounce here, and then we just took another bounce now. And did I know OPEC was going to make this statement earlier? No. But at 6:30 this morning, the market said, hey, there's going to be a buy in here. And since that time, it's now rallied up, 45 cents, right? So, I mean, Todd, what do we have, contract-wise over here?
I'm going to flip this over here, and we're just going to take a look at it on the Nadex platform. and this, I mean, it really was rather interesting because we were talking about this 58.80-ish level yesterday when we were doing our session. And as we're doing the session, it started selling off, and it was rather interesting. Like, wait, the announcement's coming out, and someone is selling into the announcement, which was just this is event trading
it's almost
news.
Like the Europeans knew, right?
It's like, what are we selling off? What are we selling off? What are they selling off into?
Right.
And look at that. I mean, as soon as that number hits, this thing immediately recovered. I mean, I'm on a 15-minute chart, so you see it actually happened in the course of a half hour. And now I'm currently looking at daily, with daily binary options in here. On the shorter term durations, as Brian mentioned, there are actually strikes in between. So let me just see. If we were to go back here and I were to look at, some of these shorter term durations. Now these ones end at 10, and then it would have been the next set.
Yeah, the 10 to 12 were the ideal ones to
Right.
grab because it's a 10:30 news release.
But the whole point being is in that set, the 10 to 12 hour when those got listed, it wasn't 2 strikes, it was 4 strikes. I mean, so there was an opportunity. Yeah, when these were you know, before this announcement, if you kind of look at even how things are lining up now, when oil was down here in that 58.20-ish range, you can see that, you know, the binaries up here, there was opportunity. You know, there was opportunity. In fact, even if you had just, you know, gone with the one at the extreme, realize that when oil popped all the way up to here, this would have gone to 50, you know, at least a 50-50 proposition. In fact, when it went through,
it went slightly above, it would have been less than a 50.
So right, so this one you could, and the thing is you would have been able to take it off, right? You could have you know, bought it in here and sold it up here, and, you know, had a nice little potential profit. Remember, you don't have to hang on to these things, even though they're all going to go to 0 or 100, and in the end it might be kind of close. But you know, you don't have to wait for a surprise. You get a nice quick, you know, profit. There's nothing wrong with trading that. And in fact, because you knew this was up at this, and this is that range in oil that Brian's been calling out, up here at the 58.70, 58.80-ish range, we know sellers step in. It would have been an opportunity for you to turn your cards over and sell. And, you know, it came all the way. I mean, look at this. I mean, you could have bring them back in at the bottom. And now we've been chopping sideways through since then, until this little release as people digest it. But keep an eye on oil. Let's get this out of the way. Just so you can kind of see, there is these ranges. I'm going to call it right around 58.10-ish on the downside, 58.80-ish on the upside, and there is some opportunity in here. And yes, around an event, I think you know, binary options or the call spreads or even the knockouts, depending upon where they line out, could all be compelling or interesting. I think that was our lesson for today. I think the one last thing, I think, Brian, if you want to quickly go over it, the one thing we are seeing is continued weakness in the US dollar. We're seeing it across the board. You see it in the Aussie dollar, the euro dollar, the Canadian dollar. You know, the dollar was gaining so much strength, and it's completely turning back over and coming back as you see continued dollar weakness across the board. I don't know if you want to do a quick little rundown before we let everyone take off for the day.
I mean, they're kind of at extremes. I mean, the euro dollar hasn't quite, you know, hit the edge that we talked about from the European session. You know, I should probably mark this one off real fast. You can see that the European session started here at a low and kind of went to the 9 o'clock window here. So it was okay movement today. I mean, 31 pips. What kind of messed up this morning was the European economic forecast that we got at 5 o'clock. You know, you can see the pound also very high, pulling back just a little bit here. Again, the pound has been kind of rifling this one pretty good. And then dollar CAD is continuing to drop low. We had a Harry Potter trade set up that we were looking for, getting a short in an approximate area. Dollar Swiss kind of had the same thing. You guys can see the dollar Swiss. We were waiting for some leveling. We wanted basing. It's basing a little bit higher than we thought. So, I mean, we had the one Harry Potter that was completed. I forgot. You guys can't see my cursor on this one. Whoops. Not bad. We had, oh, that's too much. Do it here.
That's a lot.
Now I can't.
See the little dot.
No, now I can't get it to, there we go.
Oh,
we had this Harry Potter over here. And again, we had the drop, the pullback, the entrance, all the way to the profit target. We were waiting for this to come down and base just a bit lower down here in the 88.81, and I still think it's worth keeping that on your radar. So 88.81, look for the dollar to come down to this level and then maybe start pushing back off again. But again, dollar Swiss, there's a, you know, dollar CAD, there's a small position. Euro dollar, kind of the same thing. We need to go just a little bit more, and then the dollar strength to kind of step back in. So you know, dollar, euro dollar, dollar CAD are both same thing. We need a little bit more dollar weakness, and then we need dollar strength to step in later on this afternoon. So,
excellent.
Two potential setups there.
All right, with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us this morning. If you've got any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Got any questions for Brian? Support@keeptradingsimple.com. We are both very accessible. And we will be back tomorrow morning to take a look at what we can be considering going into President's Weekend. So be sure to join us tomorrow morning. And I'll tell you what. And I would love to do the Dow, the Wall Street 30 today, but we've run out of time. But I'll tell you what, we're going to do an analysis across the board on. We'll take a look at U.S. indices tomorrow. It's something we haven't taken a peek at. So just know we'll take a peek at the U.S. dollar, the U.S. equity indices tomorrow, going into President's Weekend. And even though President's Weekend is a holiday, Nadex will be open. We will be open for a part of the day with currencies. We'll have Forex available. It's rather interesting, but the rest of the world doesn't celebrate U.S. President's Day. Shocking. Yeah, it's just like they don't celebrate our Independence Day either.
Yep, no 4th of July.
But with those markets open, we will have access to markets. So Brian and I are deciding if we want to do something short on Monday for you all, but we'll figure that out. In any case, yeah.
Happy Chinese New Year. Today is the first day of Chinese New Year.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot going on with holidays.
I should have had my background fixed for that one. My wife's going to be mad.
Oh, you are busted. I'm telling her.
She took. We have snow in Maryland, so she took my car today. So I'm not in that big of a doghouse today. So.
All right. With that, we'll catch you all tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us. Good luck in the markets, everyone.